Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Nick from ForexForNoobs.com with the daily analysis. Today is Thursday, the 3rd of October 2019. Time is 10 a.m. here in the UK. You're looking at a EURCHF daily chart now. So let's get started with the analysis. First things first, we're going to look at setups that were opened either last week or earlier this week. And then we're going to take a look at the news. So EURCHF, this has more than hit target. So this target's been hit. So yeah, if you're in this one, you should probably consider exiting since it's at resistance right now. And your target's more than been met. So good work on that one, guys. EURUSD, this is just a test run trade that I'm doing for breakout strategy. So don't worry too much about this one. This one's just for me. CADJPY, again, this one's just for me. Don't worry about this one. CADJPY. I shared this short earlier this week. I think it was in Tuesday's analysis. This one's obviously gone quite well, surprisingly well. So if you're in this one, it's actually going so well that it's probably not a good idea to close out. If you're still holding on to this one, I would suggest that you continue to hold on because this one's dropping so quickly that it's worth holding on to. All right, so yesterday's setups. These are setups I shared yesterday, which this is one that you don't need to worry. I should mark these as a different color or something to signify that they're setups that are just for me while I test a few different things. Because otherwise it's just going to get confusing. So these ones are just for me. As is this one. This is just testing stuff. So EURGBP, we were looking for a pullback to this resistance area, which we finally got, and a potential short from this resistance area. But like I said, since Tuesday, I'm not actually looking to trade this one. I'm sharing it with you guys in case you guys want to trade it. But I'm just not that interested in trading the pound at the moment because of the looming Brexit news risk. As soon as Brexit news is announced, the pound just goes crazy, and it could be announced at any moment. So, yeah. Euro AUD, we're looking for a potential short from resistance. Now, this one's looking a little bit better. We're getting price stalling at resistance. It's already started to drop down. You could, in fact, enter a short quite soon on this one. Very soon, actually. Could do something like this. Very good risk to reward ratio. So your initial target would probably be 1.5, but you would look to extend that, obviously, as price drops down. But you could do something like this with this one. Pretty good risk to reward ratio, decent stop loss. The entry is pretty good too. Enter it on the 12-hour. Or if you want to be a bit safer, you could wait for the daily and enter all the way down here. But obviously, that's going to have a huge impact on your risk to reward ratio. I'll let you guys decide how you want to trade that one. I'd probably lean towards a 12-hour just because waiting for the daily, it's really going to affect the risk to reward ratio. I encourage, if you have access to the risk management courses, that you watch Viet's video on entries and you use that entry technique for this one. I can't go into it in detail here because this is going to be a public webinar, so we'll be giving away stuff that's in the course, but this one definitely needs some more advanced entry rules. Otherwise, you're probably going to be in a bit too early, in my opinion. but we could discuss that on the forum. But this one's looking good, so I'm kind of interested in EURAUD. Euro New Zealand, this was another one from yesterday. I mean, this one, I guess, gave us an entry, but it would have been tough to enter on the 12-hour, whereas on the daily, it actually looks like it gave us a good setup. I didn't trade this one, guys. I have to be honest here. When I last looked at it, it hadn't really done much. It really took off just an hour ago. This is the first time I'm looking at my charts this morning. I kind of woke up a bit late, so... Risk to reward ratio is not great. I don't know. Even if I saw this one, I probably wouldn't have entered, guys. The indecision candle ended up being huge, and the risk to reward ratio is pretty atrocious here. Is anyone in this one? While I wait for people to answer that, I'll switch over to the news. Let's see what's going on with the news. We have... Yeah, Colin, that would have been my the same thing I would have done. Had I seen it, I probably wouldn't have taken it because the risk to reward ratio is pretty bad. So today, 3 p.m, we have ISM non-manufacturing PMI. I'm not concerned about this one at all. The only time the non-manufacturing PMI has a big impact is when it dips below 50. And it's so far above 50 right now that I don't see it dipping below 50. Tomorrow we have retail sales out of Australia. Yeah, could be important, but I'm not too bothered with that. We have trade balance out of Canada. Should be fine. The big one tomorrow is obviously the non-farm employment change, otherwise known as NFP. NFP report is probably going to have a big impact, as it always does. And after that, there's going to be a speech by Fed Chairman Powell, but this one's not going to be a big thing, in my opinion. If you read the description, due to deliver opening remarks at Fed Listens event. I don't really think it's just opening remarks. I doubt that's going to be a big thing, so I'm not too bothered with that. The only major thing coming up, guys, is the NFP report, so do be careful for this one. It's going to be a market mover. It pretty much always is. So yeah, be careful with that one. So we got a few good trades this week. And we got some setups right now. EURAUD, namely. Euro New Zealand, I'm going to just put this one as a cancelled setup because I doubt anyone entered. The risk to reward ratio was just so bad. So I doubt anyone actually entered that one. So I'll just unmark it. But we got a potential on EURAUD, which could open quite soon. EURGBP, there's still a potential short here, but I'm not going to trade it. Way too risky. So yeah, do what you want with that one. All right, let's look for some new setups, see if there's anything new happening. Getting a pullback on AUDUSD, guys. This one's interesting. Is everyone still seeing the new screen, or are you guys seeing charts? Is it just Colin that's stuck? I guess it's just Colin. AUDUSD is somewhat interesting. It's pulling back right now after dipping to new lows. You usually see this when a continuation is about to happen. So generally speaking, what happens is price comes back up, tests resistance, and then continues down. So I'm going to keep a close eye on this one for the pullback to resistance and the test of resistance. That way I could take a short, potentially. Just see what happens with that. If it hits resistance and it stalls here, I'll be looking for a short. So yeah, let's keep a close eye on this one. It looks pretty good. Yeah, nothing happening with CHF EURCAD looks quite interesting. It's trending down. It's had this pullback to resistance, and now we're seeing indecision forming on the 12-hour, on the daily, and probably the lower time frames too. Definite potential for a short here, guys. We'll cover this more towards the end of the analysis when we do the wrap up. These support resistance areas need some adjusting. New Zealand CAD trending down, pulling back to resistance. Keep an eye for indecision here, but I may as well mark it. Why not? I don't really like trading New Zealand CAD. Not a big fan of these weird New Zealand crosses. The only reason I have them on my list is because you guys trade them, so I mark them out for you guys. USDCAD had a big push yesterday up to resistance, stalling out on resistance. Potential short here. We'll cover it in more detail when we wrap things up here. Right. Oh, that is it. So we've got quite a few things happening. So EURGBP, we're still looking for a potential short. But like I said 100 times already, I'm not trading the pound. I'm pointing this out for those of you who are willing to take the risk of trading the pound right now. I'm pointing it out for you guys. I'm not going to do it personally. But if you really, really want to take a risky trade for whatever reason, there is a potential setup forming here. We have price pulling back to resistance and stalling out. So there's potential for a short continuation of this brand new bearish trend. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So Euro AUD, we've got a potential short that's triggering very soon on the 12-hour. If you want to wait for the daily, you're going to get a pretty bad risk to reward ratio. So you'd probably have to trade this one on the 12-hour. Like I said, you want to have a bit of a wider entry here. This isn't the exact entry. The entry would be based on some of the rules Viet lays out in the risk management course. So I would check that out. But we could discuss that further in the forum because it's members only advanced entry information and can't really discuss it here. If you wanna have the tightest possible entry, you'd enter on the low of this candle here and have a stop loss at the high of that candle. So this would be the tightest possible stop and the tightest possible entry as per the rules of the strategy, and it would be an acceptable stop and an acceptable entry. But I think it would also be quite risky. I would suggest having a wider entry and a decent sized stop because it's going to be a lot safer. And in that case, you'd have to use some of those rules, which I've already discussed. AUDUSD, this one, it's a long way from forming. We're just waiting for a pullback to this resistance area, then price stalling on this resistance area and then a continuation. So this one isn't even close to forming. I'm just marking it here because it's a good potential setup if it does happen. It's not happening yet, so don't get too wrapped up in this one. This one probably won't happen until next week, so just leave it for now. It's just something that is very worth keeping an eye on so we can get into an overall continuation of this bearish trend. But right now, it's nothing. EUROCAD, we're getting price stalling on resistance on both the daily and the 12-hour. It's worth looking at because it's trending down pretty heavily. So this would be a continuation of the downtrend. Entry would be roughly here. Stop loss would be roughly here. Target would be around there if you're trading it on the 12-hour. If you're trading it on the daily, you want to wait for this current daily candle to close. So this would be the 12-hour. If you're waiting for it on the daily, you'd want this current daily candle to close, and then you would enter tomorrow. But then you're entering just before NFP, which might not be a good idea. Probably best to enter on the 12-hour if it starts dropping down. USDCAD, very similar to EUROCAD, although it has some better numbers because the candle is a bit smaller. That being said, things are quite messy for this pair in this area. Things are quite messy. You can see price really struggles getting through here. So that makes it a bit of a risky trade, as it might be hard for price to hit its target. I would say this trade is actually high risk. I think it'll be tough for bears to push down and hit their target. And New Zealand CAD. So a lot of these pairs, these CAD pairs, are trending down, and we're seeing potential shorts on them. Although USDCAD is really not trending down overall, it's more trending sideways. But EUROCAD's trending down, New Zealand CAD's trending down, and we're seeing potential short setups here. The New Zealand CAD is the furthest away from forming. On the 12-hour, it looks like it might be showing us some indecision, but this candle is only 18 minutes old, so don't get too excited with that one. We just want to wait for this 12-hour candle to close. Now, you could take the other option and trade it on like the 6-hour or the 4-hour, but the lower the time frame, the bigger the risk that it's a false move. So I would definitely wait for the 12-hour for this one. Wait for that 12-hour candle to close, or even potentially wait for the daily, but that would not end up being a setup until next week. So just see how this one plays out. The closest one to happening is EURAUD 12-hour potential short here. Coming off a good few trades this week, CADJPY, EURCHF, which I believe I shared at the end of last week actually, but it was open throughout the week. So there's some good potential setups, some good closed setups there. And yeah, that's it for the analysis, guys. Are there any questions? All right, it doesn't look like there's any questions. So the podcast has been released. There hasn't really been much announcement about the podcast because it's been taking ages and ages for iTunes to accept it. All the other podcast providers accepted it in a few days. It took 2 weeks for iTunes to send me back a reply saying they've accepted the podcast release. So I haven't really sent out any emails about it. They are uploaded to the website, but the pages are hidden right now. I literally got word this morning from iTunes saying that they accepted the podcast. So now that iTunes has finally accepted it, it's live on iTunes, and it'll be live on the site probably sometime this weekend when I make all those hidden pages live. It's called, I know the name sucks, but that's what it is for now. Probably come up with a better name soon. It's called Trade Right. I'm pretty sure if you just put it into iTunes, it should pop up. I don't really know much about iTunes. I don't use that. I'm going to look it up in the podcast software I use. It's not come up on the podcast software I use, which is weird. It should do, but maybe it just takes a little bit of time. But yeah, it should be on iTunes now. And Stitcher, for those of you who use Stitcher. Hey, watch and see. You're a bit late. We're just wrapping things up here. I'll probably take trades before NFP personally. I don't mind trading through NFP. But alright guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for attending. I'll see you guys on the forum as always. I'll see you for next week's webinar also, which is going to be Tuesday at 10 a.m. So thank you and bye.